contact center it used to be seen as a cost center, right? Something that money went into. What we really want to show you today is how it can drive cost savings and incredible return on investment. And part of the story where that starts is, look, last year, and you saw this as much as any of us, Andrew, we saw how important it was. Yeah, you had to be flexible as circumstances change. And I think, cloud contact center really enables you to do that, but it also, and this is the part that often gets overlooked, it powers two other really crucial factors, which are, saving money and even gaining money. So we're going to get into that with some actual numbers later, right? We like to say the phone is now the front door, and you've seen this one before, Andrew. You know what I did do this time? And I wasn't trying to be funny with it. It wasn't making light. All these people in the stock photo were just gathered there, like talking right in each other's faces. So I tossed the masks on. I was like,
clearly, I mean, I see this one is hooked around her nose.
yeah.
This woman's mask is like
It's
on
the
her
best I could do
shoulder.
in Photoshop.
This
Or in
is,
PowerPoint, yeah.
but pretty good. It's true though. It is really weird. Even watching TV, when you watch somebody, I'm like, these people aren't social distancing. What's going on?
Yeah,
When was this movie shot? What is wrong with you people? So yeah, I
right.
appreciate
And
that.
I wasn't even trying to take a position on the issue. Like no matter where you stand, I'm just like, yeah, that's just not realistic, right? So like
Yeah,
let's try to do
doesn't
something that's
look right. It's true.
reflects the times, right? So why did that matter? Look, uh, things went from business as usual to everything's happening remotely or over the phone. And it wasn't enough to say, hey, we need to keep up to our regular demand. You know how it was. It became, we don't know what demand's going to be.
It's
It could go either way. It could fall through the floor. It could spike like crazy where you can't even keep up. We saw a lot of that in certain verticals.
so
Um,
1,000% increases in calls for sure. It wasn't
yeah,
just, hey, net new calls, but it's like, yeah, like, I mean, contact tracing, healthcare, COVID related stuff,
right.
booking appointments to see your doctor, getting an auto dealer. These are massive, massive, and none of these folks even had systems in place to deal with that, right? Pre-pandemic.
No, no, it was a new paradigm. So that was part of the problem. Another part was, okay, we've got this remote model. Let's say we figure out how to keep up with the new demand. Great. I've still got the issue of how do I know whether people are being made happy by this experience? How do I know I'm delivering a great customer experience when I can't even like we're not even interacting in person anymore? So that was
Yeah.
part of what the cloud contact center help solve for as well. It allows you to really track those interactions and score them and evaluate them on a granular level, provide that feedback to the agent, get that continual feedback and coaching loop going from anywhere, regardless of where you, the team, or your customers are. But again, going down this track, and this is really the heart of today, is it also means massive potential cost savings, right, and potential new revenue opportunities. So here's what it comes down to: simple, two things. You got to work with customers or patients, stakeholders, citizens, whatever
Constituents, whatever you call them.
constituents. Excellent. Yep. Depending on what kind of org you're in, but you also have to control costs, realize savings, and drive revenue. So we can do all of that. Modern contact centers, they don't need to look like this. They don't simply cost money. They can save and make money. I know we've got a couple interesting stories here. The presence indication is the one I always like here, Andrew.
Every time I look at this, I find something new to look at, right?
It's a
Like,
rich image, isn't it?
is the room in the back that's all sealed in by glass, is that the non-smoking room? And this is the I'm always curious about that. Or is that just where the managers sit or the quality assurance people? Like, there's so much going on. But
It's a
obviously,
wonderful image.
it evokes horror to me, right? Having worked in one of these long ago. But it's I mean, how do you achieve this in the new in 2021, right? Like, how do you pull this off other than the fact that these PCs weigh 75 pounds each?
At least nobody stole them. So there's that.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
So how do we do this with not just a contact center, but again, a cloud contact center? Well, it's simpler than you might think. And we're going to jump into the numbers here. So it's really all about the features. This product has an incredibly rich feature set. Some of them are straightforward. They're the ones that you would most commonly think of being associated with a contact center, even if you're not really familiar with the industry. Others
Sure.
are, and I'm sure you know what those are, Andrew. They're more sophisticated, a little more advanced. We'll hit on some of those as well. But here's what I think is so interesting. Um, you can take, when you have a complex, large scale operation, you can take one small tactical change. And if you implement it well at scale, it can have massive outsized effects that you would not have predicted.
Absolutely. Transformational. And you know, it's funny you bring this up, Adam, because we're seeing this today. Like the first few months of the pandemic, if you remember, everybody was very reactionary.
Yeah,
Okay, I just need to get my calls to my agents that are working at home. It's okay if they use their cell phone. It's okay if they use their landline. I don't mind about all that. I just need to make sure that they can answer calls from my customer. Now it's really turned into, okay, it's great that you can send those calls to my customers, but how do I know which agents are working and which ones are not? How do I know that the calls are going to the right people? How do I know my customers are satisfied with this new arrangement we've made with them and there's no longer a central call center for them to call in? That is what we've really been able to demystify. Those complex features that used to really only be available if we all sat in the same room
right.
and smoked cigarettes together are now extendable to every endpoint across the universe, right? Which is really what this is about. I'm excited.
100%.
Let's see it.
Yeah, you bet. And it's worth noting, not just the physical infrastructure. This used to be seen as largely an enterprise or very large business play, and that's
Very
just
much so.
not the case anymore. Not at all.
We have
So,
1 and 2 seat deployments
sorry.
that are using our most complex features, right? For us, it doesn't matter. It's all about what do you need? Fine. Do we have that feature to solve that problem? Yes, we do, right? The size really is irrelevant at this
Yeah,
level.
non-issue. So let's start with a simple one. Um, some of you may know this. Screen pop is really just, look, a customer calls in, and that call is routed. It probably hits an IVR first, which we'll talk about later. But at any rate, it's routed to an agent. When it is, the contact center software basically links to the CRM and pulls that person's record, whatever details we have on them. The
Mhm.
most basic is, yeah, caller name, caller ID, but you could have any number of
It,
things there.
yeah, I mean, it could be the customer's phone number. I mean, it's an IVR. We want it to be numeric. Or we could prompt somebody in the IVR, hey, Mr. Customer, if you have a
Right.
ticket or if you have an account number, I mean, whatever you use, or student ID, right? And we can use that information that we collect to do the same thing. I mean, I always assume, Adam, that none of the people on this webinar have ever worked in a call center before. It's probably the best thing, even though some of these people are probably running call centers. But I don't think a lot of folks realize when you call into an agent and they say, hey, Mister, what do you know? Even if they address you by name, they still need to look up your account, validate they're talking
100%.
to the right person, ensure privacy. And here's the simplest of all things: if that account can be opened already for me as an agent
Yep.
before I have to ask you and go search for it and look it up, I am 10 to 20 seconds ahead on the call.
Yep.
And it's not a transformational thing in each interaction, right? Just having the customer's account open and available on the screen. It's nice, but it's not just the 20 seconds we save. That agent's level of happiness for not having to
Exactly.
look up that account 73,000 times a day is pretty, you know what I mean? It's like making your agents' lives a little bit easier, allow them to focus more on the customer outcome and the customer experience and less on the systems they're mashing at to get there. I get a little bit passionate about this, Adam, because
No, it's important.
I used to work in a call center where we never knew the customer's number when they called us. The system that we
Oh,
used,
Lord.
Adam, would not pass along the caller ID. So we had a lot of authentication that we had to do on every call. And let me tell you, that is annoying. It's annoying for me. It's annoying for the customer. It's annoying for everybody on the planet to have to keep re-authenticating over and over again.
Yeah,
So this kind of stuff, it doesn't eliminate that, but it really does give
cuts it down.
first of all,
Yeah.
it cuts it down. Agent experience. I've ranted too long about this. So I don't love this screen pop, by the way, that you're seeing here on screen. But think about any application the agent's using to pull up customer data: an ERP, an EMR, the CRM is another one. What's another 3-digit acronym we could throw in there? Any database that the agent uses, right? There's something that they have to interact with in order to help you. And if we can integrate with that, and we use REST APIs to do this, we don't do TAPI integrations and all that crazy stuff. No CTI anymore. It's all real easy REST endpoints. It can be transformational to the business just on agent attitude alone.
Yeah,
But it even gets better. Show them the next screen, Alan.
for sure.
Alan. I'm going to call you
I'll
Alan for the
take
rest of the
Alan.
call, if
No, that's
that's
fine.
cool.
It
Thank you.
works. Another one would be, real quick, from the customer side. I don't have to
Oh,
repeat my widget story 3 times during the
right.
same call, like, not having that context up front. I should
Oh,
say having that
excuse me, Alan.
yes,
Sorry, you're in the wrong queue. I'm going to have to transfer you to my buddy
right.
John over here in the other
And I
department.
won't pass
Just
any
sit tight.
context to John.
Yeah,
John is
because I
starting
can't.
completely fresh. Right, right.
Exactly. I mean,
Eh,
we all know that that's heck, right? Nobody wants to deal with that.
no, and it's interesting that that figure you said on about 20 seconds. Spot on. And that's basically what we've done in most cases here. We've used kind of very reasonable industry numbers. It wouldn't be crazy that some of the results could even be better than this, but we tried to be, conservative. So, look, let's say 1,000 calls daily. It's a moderately large contact center option. Not crazy if you've got 20, 25 agents, certainly. Um, to Andrew's point, it's usually about 20 seconds per call, could be more, easily 30, 40, but let's say 20 is wasted
Yep.
without screen pops. And that's, again, kind of on the low side. Like, if you get all that, if you're only saving 20 seconds, I'd be surprised, but we're trying to be conservative. So we're talking at that scale, 20,000 seconds a day, almost 6 hours. And again, let's assume an agent wage of $20 an hour, certainly not outlandish. You're talking 110 bucks a day. Now, you might say, oh,
That's
110.
US dollars or Canadian dollars? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm Canadian, so $20 is nothing, but US, that's only $3 an hour. So I just wanted to double
Oh,
check.
come on.
All right, all right.
It's
US.
relative. It's relative. It doesn't really matter. Yeah.
I know. Sorry, had to
No,
say
that
it.
was good. Of course you
It's
did.
true
I
though. I mean, because 1,000 calls a day is an hour. It's not a huge call center. It's not a small one by any
no,
means, but that could
it's
easily
moderate. Yeah.
be. I mean, 10 agents could take 100 calls a day, depending on it. That could be. This could be a 25 or 30 seat call center though, doing
Yep.
1,000 calls a day easily.
Yep.
That's a
No
lot.
problem. So you're talking at least $100 a day. Again, that doesn't sound like much, but if you've got a 300-day working year, which I know is a little higher, but we're assuming here that our contact center, works extra.
You work
Uh,
holidays. Yeah, exactly.
exactly.
They're
So
always
that's
open
not.
usually.
Yeah, right. So that's not outlandish. So we're
Nope.
we're talking over 30 grand a year,
That could almost
$30,000.
that can almost pay for the software itself, right?
Yep.
Like that's shocking. And now I hate math. I just wanted to get this out there. I'm really against this whole math thing.
Well, you can leave now.
I can't leave. I've been mandated to be here by math, but I just, show of hands for anybody that gets this math. I mean, math is math. It's simple, but I mean, just insert your own calculation, even if it's only 10
Exactly.
seconds a call, right? It's meaningful. It adds up, and it's not something that we should take lightly.
No. No. And again, these are not outlandish. Let's take a look. Okay, let's go to IVR. Here's one that, again, even if you don't know terminology, you've definitely used this. This is what we consider a foundational basic feature. It's basically an automated grading. We've all heard it. Thank you for calling Acme Widgets. Andrew, what are you calling about today? Is it sales? You need a part return?
Absolutely.
Maybe you want to
Right.
do a lookup, something
Pay a
fancier.
bill, pay
Pay
a
a bill.
bill,
There you go.
cancel my service.
Hopefully not, but that does
Well,
happen.
no, we have a way to deal with those. Someone hits cancel, we just put them in an infinite IVR loop, and they can never get to an agent. Like we turn churn to zero by doing that. But no, IVR is a
Amazing.
terrible term. Yeah, sometimes I say advanced auto attendance, right?
Yeah.
AAA's. But ultimately, an IVR is more than just that press one for English, two for Spanish.
Oh,
It
sure.
is where we do a lot of integration, right? It's where we do a lot of intelligent routing. I always tell people on our demos, when somebody hits our call center, you could have a million queues and a million different skills and 100,000 agents. I mean, the numbers could be staggering. But we know in a millisecond all of the agents that are logged in and who's getting that next call based on whatever your routing algorithm is. In fact, my favorite way to do a route a call, Adam, as you know, and if we went back to the last screen, which I don't want you to do, is CRM integration. How about a call comes in, we do a dip into your CRM, it says, oh, that's Adam. He owes us $3,000. Let's send him immediately to collections. Like that kind of automated routing decision at the IVR level can be transformational because just offsetting how much percent, like even 5% of your calls, Adam, could be transformational in terms of what it will save you over the course of a year.
Oh, sure, it could be. I mean, and that's what we were talking about, right? Like, it's what seems like small adjustment, a tactical change, manifested at that scale is hugely significant, right? And that's really what we're talking about here. Whether it's agent time savings or happier customers, right? So basically, what it comes down to is IVRs can resolve a number of customer inquiries without using agent time, or at least, if nothing else, shorten the time the agent spends on the call, right?
I couldn't believe this one, Adam. I'm going to do the math now, but when we did that drugstore down in SoCal, I'm not going to name drop them, but their biggest complaint was the pharmacists are taking calls about what are your directions? What are your hours of operation? Is my prescription available? Those three things are so easily automated in an IVR menu that and in this case, and I don't know if we have a use case to share here, but it was transformational for their business because they didn't have a call center, but they still had people calling. And I guess, a pharmacist's time is probably better spent filling prescriptions and
Yeah.
not answering calls about what your directions are. So that kind of crazy stuff. I mean, these things we take for, we assume these things, but it's not always easy to do. We're back
No,
to 1,000
exactly.
calls a day. All right, show me
Yeah.
the math
Yeah. Okay. Sure thing. So yeah, I tried to keep this number consistent. Again, let's take our baseline 1,000 calls, right? Uh, Common industry estimate for cost of an agent call, and again, there's a number of ways to calculate cost, but this is fairly standard. It's about $7.76
per call
versus less than a dollar, 98 cents. If an
for an IVR.
IVR were to handle, we say in the next point converted. We don't mean like a converted sale, obviously. Just the IVR handled it basically. It made the person happy. But you know
Sure,
what I
a
mean,
payment, an account
right?
lookup, directions, anything you can automate in an IVR where it doesn't need a human to interact with. I mean,
Right.
that is significant savings.
It's literally and figuratively binary, right? Like if it's a yes or no answer, if it's find a thing, if it's do an action that doesn't require a human, then you've got a potential use case, right? So here we assume just 5% of those calls were converted to IVR calls, meaning the IVR did what the person wanted. Again, pretty modest. You could
It, it,
you could do
it-
better with a well-designed IVR.
Depending on the use case, like I mean, payments is not going to get that many, but
True.
looking up your hours of operation and directions is going to be
Oh,
closer to
sure.
90% apparently. So yeah, it really depends on the use case, but that is a low estimate.
Oh yeah, we lowballed to. You know what? We don't want to be showing off, right? We lowballed these, so we can be conservative. So if the agents handled I'm sorry, those 50 calls, we're looking at just under $400.
Amazing
If the IVR
times.
handles them, just under $50. So we're talking a savings of $340 daily, and you can definitely see where that would add up fast. You're
Very
talking over
fast.
100K if you use that same baseline of, um, sorry, 300 working days per year, roughly.
I mean, this again is math. You can make numbers work any way you want. But the other part of
Yeah.
this that isn't like it's a really hard thing to put a number on it. But the agent satisfaction.
Yes.
If 80% of my calls are yes, Mr. Customer, please hold, I'll transfer you to make that payment. Yes, Mr. Customer, please hold, I'll transfer you to make that. Like, I mean, you're just turning into a zombie, right? And I mean, agents like anyone else, they like to be challenged. They like to have something different to do.
Yep.
Getting rid of some of these, these really, dry calls can also not just improve your customer experience, but that agent experience as well. Happy
You
agents mean happy customers.
and you are right. It is sometimes hard to put a number to. We do later in this deck. We did make a game effort to show, yeah, some of those stats about what
I
this
re-
could do for
I
happier
should
agents as well.
I really should have read this deck before I showed
It's
up for this call.
fine.
My bad.
It's all good. But yeah, we do try to put some numbers to that, and we're quoting places. I believe it was Inc. magazine. So again, sticking to high level, very trusted sources, that kind of thing. We're not writing these on the fly.
Show of hands if you subscribe to Inc. magazine. Anyone?
People still
Any hands?
subscribe.
Any thumbs up? Yeah. What is the subscription?
I mean, I have National Geographic. I'll say that
Oh,
much.
you
But that's about
do.
it. I do.
Nice.
I do
All right.
still. I believe in Nat Geo. I really do. Okay, callbacks. I would say this is an intermediate feature. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just going with it. I love it. You can
Oh,
explain what it means. I just love this. If you don't have this feature enabled, then you're doing it wrong.
that's true. But a contact center light deployment, they might not. They very well might not, right? And that's why I put it as an intermediate feature. This is one that is definitely
Mm,
very good to have, but not everyone will have it. So this is
not
one
all
you
systems have it for sure.
not all systems have it. But again, like IVR, a lot of us have probably experienced this. Maybe not quite as common, but certainly I would imagine most of the people in the call have heard, hey, you've been on hold for a couple of minutes. We value your time. If you'd like, you can press X. Well, there's no X key really, but you press a button that they tell you, and we will not only give you a call back later with the first available agent. This is crucial. We will preserve your place in queue. So
Yeah.
it's like stepping out of the line at the movie theater, but when the film the curtains come up and the freaking ads have ended, you get to straight in
Yeah.
without losing your spot. I mean, that's a pretty good outcome. And what
Every
happens there is, yeah.
Every customer wants this, right? Nobody wants to wait on hold. 1 minute seems like an hour. I'm pretty sure we all agree to that. And if you give me an option to walk away from my phone and you're going to call me back when it's my turn, I'm in.
Why wouldn't you?
The
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, if you've ever, and again, okay, so that's the customer side. That's a really nice, that's a really nice experience. But on the agent side and on the management side, callbacks help smooth out your busy hour, right? If you're busy between 1 and 2 because people are taking rotating lunches and you end up getting longer than average hold times in those 2 hours, you don't need to
Right.
go hire new bodies to fill in. The callback option will allow people to get their calls in the non-busy hour, and you can smooth all of that out with your customers basically support, and you're not getting angry agents who are getting customers who are angry because they were on hold too long and they're yelling at agents and making their day worse. I know that I can't wait to see the math on this because we all know how I feel about the math. But I mean, just as a feature on its own, dollars aside, right? It's an experience feature. Would you call it an immediate feature?
Uh, uh, Intermediate, meaning it's
Intermediate. I got you. Okay,
somewhere between entry level and high end. Like it's
gotcha.
middle range, basically, is what I was
But
saying.
it's in all our packages, Pro and Elite. It's a standard feature. The only time we
Yep.
advise not to introduce a callback is when a customer doesn't have enough agents to even return the callbacks. That's
Yeah.
just going to be a circle of heck for
Yeah.
everybody. It's never going to end. But as long as you have, as long as your busy hours doesn't exceed, 2 to 3 hours in a day, this can absolutely, obviously transform the business. Okay, the rest is you.
No problem.
Show the math.
All right. So again, same baseline,
Are
1,000
those
calls a
Joe's
day.
kids? I know Joe's not here today, but those do look like Joe's kids.
No,
They're not?
no,
Okay.
no.
Fair
That's true.
enough.
Yeah, actually, certainly, yeah, that's true. Anyway, 1,000 calls a day with this operation. We're assuming a wait time of 10 minutes, which again, not outlandish, pretty common, actually fairly low, I'd say. And a cost per minute, which again is conservative of, let's say, 2 cents, right? Um, Now, if you offer the callback at the 2 minute mark, the idea here is you're saving 8 minutes,
Okay,
right?
so you're making the assumption that somebody called a toll-free number and is on hold in your queue, and so the callback eliminates that hold. Okay, that's a good way to
Yeah.
look at it.
There's
Sure,
more than one way to
there
say this
is.
is the cost of a call, but you gotta start with
No, no,
everything
this
in
is real.
mind.
I mean, so if
Yeah.
you have a local phone-in number, I mean, there's even some cost to that, but it's obviously not as high
Sure.
as a toll-free number. But yeah, no, that's one amazing use case for callbacks, no doubt about it.
Yep. So you're saving, and again, that's just one aspect of the cost, never mind agent time and so on. Um, so if we assume that we get 16 cents saved per call, and then let's say half of people,
Yep.
500 of those calls opt for a callback, which again, reasonable. Might be a little
Yep.
lower, but it could be higher, depending
Sure.
on the industry and the demand and the seasonality and so on. So if you're looking at 500 calls a day, 16 cents per, you're talking about $80 daily. Again, it's like, yeah, $80. Yeah, okay, but that's 2,000 a month, or almost 24,000 a year in overall savings, just by shaving those minutes off, right? With the
And your
callback.
customer satisfaction is going to go
How do
up
you even
without a
measure that?
doubt. Yeah.
Right,
Well,
that's a whole other category, right? Um,
CSAT scores. Is that on this? Yeah, well, yeah, you're 100% right about
no,
that.
I just mean in terms of translating it directly to savings would be a little more difficult, but
Yeah, yeah.
that's basically that's gravy. That's on top of what we're showing you here, right? So,
A little and on topic, but slightly off on this one is if your customer, and I'm a big fan of toll free, it says to me as a customer that you care about me and you want to answer my call when you give me a
yep,
toll free number. So I get how that works. The flip side of that is because we have these smart, intelligent, multi-tenanted IVRs and advanced auto attendants we give you, we have the ability to route a call based on a DNIS or dialed number.
right,
And so, in the situation where you don't want to advertise your toll free number, but you want to advertise your 732 local numbers, that's fine with us because we have the ability to treat each one of those dial-in numbers completely differently and still achieve a similar outcome to what you're showing on the screen, but without the toll-free attached. So not necessarily a callback, show me the money play, but seeing as how we're in here talking about it, I just something not a lot of solutions can take multiple incoming phone numbers and decide how to route them based on a number
right.
alone. That's one of the things our software does. And it does, again, I wish people bought toll free. I wish there was more toll free, but obviously, as a business, reducing that toll free cost, introducing local numbers is also a critical way to save money. So I thought I'd throw it in there. I know we didn't chat about this in advance, but it
Oh,
just kind of came to me.
oh,
And
it's, look,
looking at Joe's kids, I was inspired,
it's a great
frankly.
point though, right? Like we're not just, as you say, we're not just routing based on whom. Basically, what you just said is we're routing based on, to some degree, intent.
Yeah.
Intent is as gauged by well, what were you calling, not just where are you calling from. So yeah, I think that's a terrific track. Appreciate that.
I realize that most people don't know who Joe is on this call. Joe's usually our partner in crime on these things, on these webinars. He had a conflict today, and I sometimes we get the same attendees. As I go through this list, I see a lot of new faces. You may not have even seen Joe in the past, so full circle. I'll stop making Joe comments. All
That's
right.
okay. He'll be here next time, and you know what, we'll have some fun with it. Yes, I know you like this one. I mean, who doesn't like this one? Now this, you know what? This feature can have a bunch of different names. We don't actually call it this internally, but this is a pretty good description. I'd
Yep.
call this a more advanced feature. Not everybody has this, even
Well,
if ours.
we've all experienced it though, right? Just like calling
Sure.
into an
Oh, of course.
IVR. I'm gonna guess now that's a mobile. That's somebody sending you a text that says, "Hey, it's Linda from Zip Whip Dental." By the way, I'd go there if that was a real place. I love that name, Zip Whip. Just a reminder, your appointment is at 2 p.m. tomorrow. See you soon. You notice there's no call to action here. It's just an update. Yo, Carlene. It's a weird way to spell Carlene. Just reminding you have an appointment. That's pretty basic, right? I think we all get that. Sometimes I get the call from the doctor's office. Hey Andrew, it's just a person. It's Sarah from Dr. Potter's office, just making sure you're coming to the appointment on Friday. And
Right. Yep.
at that point, when I have Sarah on the phone, I look at my calendar, and if I've got another webinar to do, then we reschedule, right? And she pushes me out. But the dynamic notification tool, or our appointments reminders tool, does a lot of this automatically.
Right.
So imagine you get a call or a text from your doctor's office that says, "Hey Carlene, it's Linda from Dr. Potter's office or Zipwood Dental. Just a reminder that you have your appointment at 2 p.m. tomorrow. Press 1 to accept, 2 to cancel,
Exactly.
or press 3 if you want to reschedule."
Right.
What the what? I can reschedule? Yes,
Right.
tomorrow's really not cool. If I the power of our tool is if they hit 3 to reschedule, or hit 3 to call back and reschedule, they're connected to a live person, a live agent inside our software. And what's transformational about that connect back is it allows a human, whoever's answering the phone, to backfill appointments. Not yesterday's appointments, because we can't go back in time, although I'm thinking about building a time machine, right? Just so we can, anyway. But the fact, like, you call in, and this has happened to me all the time, Adam, right? I'll call in and she's like, "Listen, I can't do Friday.
Yep.
Friday's not good for
Something come
me."
up. Yep.
And then she'll say to me inevitably, "What about 3 o'clock today?" I'm like, "Three
That
o'clock?
would
I'm in.
that would
Let's
work.
go."
Yeah.
How would you ever have done that without that connect back thing, right? So
Right.
that appointment reminders tool, I know you're going to show the math on this, but usually companies are either leveraging whatever their ERP or EMR gives them, which is exactly like this, a reminder, which inherently will invoke no-shows. And depending on the industry you're in, it could be as high as 40% the amount of
Yep.
people that just don't show up to an appointment.
Yep.
When we have the connect back option, people are compelled to say yes, no, or please reschedule me. That element allows you to not only reschedule and backfill appointments, but also reuse the canceled appointments more efficiently on the fly, making decisions that a system wouldn't be able to create for you. And then you take that same tool and you layer on other use cases like, "Hey, Mr. Customer, your prescription is available. Press 1 to renew it." And then it goes into an IVR. Or how about this one? "Hey, Mr. Customer, Adam, you have an overdue balance of $92.18. Press 1 to make a payment." Bring it
Yeah.
back to that payment IVR we were just talking about on the other screen. Oh my goodness, right? We just reduced calls by 30%. So that outreach tool over chat, and SMS, and also voice to speech over the phone is an
Yep.
amazing tool for appointment reminders and a little bit more. I'm going to let you do the math again
No,
because you
appreciate
have it.
that. You hit on several of the points here. Most poignantly, number three, which is that, look, this can allow additional actions. Usually, it's connect to an agent, but it could be, as you said, it could be any number of use cases, really.
Remove
But
me
I
from
also,
your list and never call me again is an option, obviously, as well.
hey, you know what? That has a savings in itself, right? Saves people's time and their frustration. But I also like that you touched on multi-channel. It's not just a call. It's not just
Yeah.
a
I
text.
mean,
Could be all of those, could be email as well. If you got people like me, I'm horribly forgetful. Like I need several reminders. So you might as well have a unique entry for me that like pesters the heck out of me and then it'll work. But you can do that with this tool. And you're not limited to just one
that's
method.
me on my phone. That's a weird picture of me on my phone, by the way. But I was going to make a point and say that, like, I'm in Canada, right? So I'm a Bell Canada customer, and I apologize for keep saying I'm Canadian, you guys, but we live different lives. But I love sending Bell SMSs, like, boom, hey, my bill last month, you overcharged me, or boom, hey, I'm really annoyed that I can't get the hockey game in Ontario because I don't pay for your stupid package, that kind of stuff. And they always respond. So it's more than just the outbound reminders. Like
That's true.
having that channel for people like me to complain is really important. And nobody's given us any interaction with the thumbs up or the happies or the sad emojis. I would just like a bit of feedback. Who agrees that sending an SMS to get service is the greatest thing ever? By show of hands,
Yeah,
just
I'm a
one.
fan. I have to say I'm a fan.
I don't like talking, right? I'm just like, I'm done talking. It's been a long day. Let me send a text and fix
It's
this
true.
for me, right? It's
I
beautiful.
like talking. I like these interactions, but at the end of the day, I don't really want to do another 2 hours of it just to get satisfaction with the provider of some service in the
Yeah.
household. Yeah, I'm just sorry, I'm
No,
done. I have to say.
we're this use case, this math that Adam's using is actually from a real world use case that we have
Yes,
in a
it is.
partner down in California, LA County General Hospital, right? All of LA County Health Services is running on our software, the software that Adam and I are here talking to you about today. And this is I can't, honestly, guys, I swear I don't even understand how they could have stayed open. They had a 39% no-show rate in all of their exology departments. That means 40% of the time almost, there was an appointment, a doctor was there, a nurse was there, people were paid to be there, but the customer didn't show up, right? The
Yeah.
patient didn't show up. I'm like, my mind is blown when I hear this stat. And obviously, Adam's going to help us with the math.
Well, yeah, and again, these are actually scaled down. You're right; it was taken from that use case, but I actually think their numbers were above 250 a day. Yeah, I think it was actually higher than that because you're talking a massive area that operation covers. So we went with 250 because hey, it's big, but any hospital around here, Andrew, like you think of I don't know McMaster University in Hamilton, easily across all the areas and campuses could easily be that. Um, so
Yeah, I mean, healthcare is different here, right? And we got to be, point out the obvious. It's a little, the mentality about healthcare is a little bit
that's
different,
true.
obviously, right? With
That is
with
true.
with Medicare versus whatever. I don't even know is it called Medicare here? I don't know. Anyway, universal healthcare, whatever. But even as Canadians, right, you can't treat your doctor to a no-show, right? I mean, it doesn't just cost you as a human money; it costs us the whole system money, right?
Yeah.
And so I just think that I don't even know how LA County was able to stay profitable all these years with those no-shows. And I want to name drop here for a second. To pull this off, we had to build out an integration with Cerner. It is
Oh,
maybe
yes.
one of the biggest, baddest EMRs, and I mean, it does everything from a patient experience perspective. But integrating with Cerner from an appointment reminder perspective allowed us to do this and help them transform their patient experience. There you go.
Yeah. And again, this next number is scaled down too. Like we said, the no-show rate, we took a 25% here. We scaled it down from the third. I saw the same number you did, almost 40%. We went with just
Cerner,
25, 25,
yeah,
right? Which is 60 appointments a day that we've got broken appointment, I think was the term, a BA rate of 25%. And then we said, again, conservative, the lost revenue per appointment is 75. Could easily be way above that, but we chose that. You're talking $4,500 a day on that basis.
it's a lot.
Moving up on
That
5 grand.
is I mean, I don't know what doctors get paid, but that might be the doctor's daily salary, just right there. You
I
can
don't know if they
hire
make
another
quite that much.
radiologist.
Yeah,
I don't
maybe
know.
if you're
I was going to ask
a
Canadian versus US dollars again, but I'm not going to go there. People are yelling at me. Stop
thoracic
being so Canadian. Yeah.
cardiovascular surgeon, maybe. Um, so let's say the reminders, you implement this and you cut the no-show rate by about a third. Just to be clear, we're talking taking 25% and cutting it by a third, which
That's
brings us
nothing.
down to right, which could easily pull that off, brings us down to about 17.5%. So that's now you're talking 44 missed or broken appointment. I mean, it's still a lot, but look, you're always going to have some. So that's
That's
um,
it's massive savings still.
right. 16. You've saved basically 16. So that's $1,200 a day in savings, or 360,000 a year.
It's
If
pretty
we
shocking.
again, yeah, it's insane. It's insane
Yep.
how fast that piles up.
Most of the folks, whether you're end users or partners, I know there's a mixed bag on the webinar today. I mean, most customers that have this problem already understand the pain and the
Sure.
cost, right? And you're just coming in and really speaking the same language. For those of you that have never done ROI and a missed appointment, I'll put my hand up. I'm one of those people too. This is the kind of math we want to, walk you through. And then of course, your numbers might be a little bit different. Maybe you only
Mhm.
have 25 appointments a day. Maybe your no-show rate is 40%, right? Those numbers will change a little bit, but plug them into your environment and see if there is a way that we could just use this one silly feature to help save you something substantial just around appointment reminders and bill reminders, things like that.
Yeah, appreciate that. Okay, so look, thanks for sticking through that. Enough math. We'll get into a little more Andrew style narrative and storytelling here. Who uses contact center? You'd be surprised. Almost everyone. We'll go through. You've seen these, Andrew. We'll go through a few
Mhm.
quick examples here for different verticals. Um, One thing I will say is you actually see a lot of the same features come up again and again in different verticals, just under different use cases. And Andrew often
Mhm.
says that. So they need the reporting and the analytics, seasonal scalability, of course, tax season, contributions, even things that are unplanned like major market meltdown. I got to get communications out to calm people down,
It's
tell my
true.
investors not to panic sell or what have you. Obviously, integration with CRMs comes up again and again. Differentiation via client service is really, really important for this vertical. We're talking about people's money. It's really personal.
Mhm.
And when I've got, especially if I have a sizable amount of money invested with you, I kind of want to feel like you're taking me seriously and treating me well. You know,
It's a good use case. I mean, financial is such a wide one, Adam, and you just hit on
sure.
three of them right there. But I think anybody that's in that space, either like the use case you just said, being able to identify a $10,000 customer from a $1
Yep.
customer from a
Yep.
service perspective, but also ensuring that we exceed or meet all PCI DSS standards. Obviously, when we get to the healthcare vertical, being
Yep.
HIPAA compliant and meeting those standards, and that's just really important for everybody on the call to know that all of our data, right? And even though I do live in Canada, so does Adam. We maintain data sovereignty north and south of the border. Obviously, we're a U.S. based company. That's easy to say, but we hit all of those, regulations you're going to need to ensure that we hit on in order to even provide quality service for your customer. And financial is one of the most stringent. I think the credit card industry is pretty tough on
Oh yeah.
security, and we adhere to it. And there's again monthly scans, quarterly scans that we provide to anyone that needs an attestation of compliance.
Yep. And some of the outcomes here have points that you talked about earlier, Andrew, the ease of doing business, personalized experience where they actually know you. It's not just transactional, hey, can I do a thing? Give me the money, give me the deposit, make the investment. It's, you know what? Hey, I remember you. And I remember where you're trying to go with your account. Can I make a suggestion? That kind of thing, right? Like that seems small, but has a massive impact over time. And over time, what else do you see? You see reduced churn, elevated satisfaction, which, as you say, could be measured via NPS or perhaps another metric, right?
And we help with all of these tools as well. That's a key one. What you got next?
I think it's education. Yes.
By the way,
Yeah.
I have at least 12 education RFPs on my desktop right now that I'm reviewing. I don't know what just happened,
Wow.
but kaboom, the education space just blew up. And I'm like, oh, yeah, people are back to school. Universities they're thinking about next year, right? There's a lot of stuff going on. And I think it's important for everyone on this call to know that we have a ton of references in that vertical. But yeah, the needs, Adam, go for it.
Yep. Okay, we'll speed up a bit too. I want to be mindful of time. Look, some similarities. Rapid scalability could be based on season. Obviously, there's enrollment is busy. Actual people starting the fall is busy, but it could also be, hey, look at last year. We got to get info out to people right away because things are changing fast. And there's only so much we can do about it. All we can do is over communicate, right?
Mhm.
Get people to the right department, proactive outreach for next year. Students who may have particular needs there. You can do things like equip the team, the agent team that is, to handle peak enrollment times. One of the ways you could do that is, look at some of the long-term reporting, and you can see where the spikes are going to appear, right? You could guess, yes, spring and fall, okay, fine, but you can get a lot more granular than that. You can get
Mhm.
more intelligent with your staffing choices, and make sure that you're never being overwhelmed. Um, Another benefit, hey, keep people up to date on planned changes and unplanned changes through this solution, right?
Big thing with education, and you can skip really quick here, but a lot of folks have already migrated to Teams. They've already decided that
It's true.
Microsoft is their back end of choice. Sometimes Microsoft heavily discounts education. They're severely lacking a call center solution on Teams. And when I say severely, I mean it doesn't really exist. So there's only third party over the top scenarios, which we fit into nicely. So one thing you'll find about education is Dynamics is a heavy use case, or CRM. We integrate with it, anything you need. And if they want to continue using Teams as their phone, we can layer over the top and really, really improve the outcomes along the same ways that Adam's been talking about. But I just can't get off the educational vertical without talking about Microsoft and Teams, because they've attacked that space. And now these universities are waking up and saying, man, I don't have an auto tenant. I can't run a report. I can't do a call recording. I can't do anything because it's Teams. So that's where we kind of come in and help round out those rough edges. And it, again, could be really helpful if you have anyone in that space.
No, awesome drop. Thanks for that. Of course, healthcare.
Same deal, but I feel like you've mentioned scalability a couple times. I don't think we've done a great job letting the folks on this call know. I mean, everybody can scale, but our product actually supports bursting on demand, right? It's not an uncommon feature in telecom, but for contact center, nobody has bursting on demand, right? If you're a healthcare
Pretty rare.
company and you have 50 seats and you're like, man, I just need 50 more seats for this busy time, then you got to buy those 50 extra seats for the term of your contract. It's just crazy. With us, we'll just let you use those extra 50 seats this 1 month. You pay us for that service, it's the same rate, and then you go back to your 50 seats the next month. So that ability to pop up and down, and due to the seasonality in all of our verticals, is really important. And that's one thing that a cloud contact center can do a little bit more easily than of an on-prem version, where named licenses and
Right.
named agents and 3 and 5 year terms and capital expenditure are all
They're the
ubiquitous.
norm. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, we're talking about a month-to-month recurring charge for a bunch of agents. Oh, you need 5 more? Here's 5 more. Oh, you want to go back down to 3? Here's 3. Like, it's just that easy. And part of the way we help with that is we are month to month. We don't make you lock into a contract. And we do that because it allows you to flex up and down and have some cost certainty inside your call center without breaking the bank. And thanks for the thumbs up on that one.
And the bursting that you mentioned is done automatically on the fly, if I'm not mistaken. That's the
It
thing.
is nothing
Yeah.
like you got 10 agents and you know that it's Christmas and you're going to need an extra 5. If we've turned on bursting, you can log in those additional
You're
5
good.
agents. You pay the same rate. You didn't need to call anybody. You didn't have to email anyone. You didn't have to sign a purchase order, background check, new credit card, all of the, whatever it is that people ask you for when they want you to pay them money. We just make it happen. And that's
Right.
a big thing. That's a big part of what we are here, right? Ease of use, right? You're the call center manager. No offense to IT, you shouldn't need to go to IT to get a prompt changed or an working hours updated or have
Ideally.
to add
Yeah.
an agent. Ideally, I mean, there are situations where that's ideal. And
Sure.
so we do make this stuff easy to consume. I think we beat the healthcare vertical to death, but earlier on with my my LA County story.
That's all right. This next one is kind of a catch-all. This is service-based verticals. You could do 3 Rs, retail, restaurants, real estate, almost any industry that provides some kind of a service could potentially fall into this. And the way we break it down is, look, it's less about the exact industry you're in; it's about the function. Function could be billing and inquiries, could be
Yes.
customer satisfaction, support, a ticket desk, support desk, technical support, help desk, what have you. There you go, automated appointments and scheduling. Man, that could be. I don't know. My wife, as soon as
Mm.
things started opening up again, she of course booked a pedicure and a manicure, like stuff like that, right? Could
My wife's
all
out
fall
getting the
under that,
new eyelashes right now.
right?
She had to book it 2 weeks ago, and of course it's appointment only, which is a new thing. Now she called and got an answer and then a phone call back. There was no real system there, but this is the new it, right? Everything's appointment only, it seems, doesn't
Yep,
it?
yep. but it's not entirely a bad thing. I mean, um, at least that way I remember things because I have to
Yeah.
note the appointment, so that's not terrible.
Good point.
Anybody providing self-serve customer service, we talked about how you could do that with IVRs. Live chat, another good use case. Again, all of these could be applicable. Um, we're going to speed up a bit. This is real quick on this one. You may have some stories as well, Andrew.
Always.
Um, you see restaurant here on the right, transport on the
I
or
mean,
on the left, transport on the right. There was one, and I don't remember the name, and we wouldn't name drop anyway. But there was one. It was like a private jet charter company,
mhm.
and yeah, right. You've heard this story, and they have, I get, it's kind of an exclusive club where if you pay a certain amount, you get an elite tier of membership, and basically you can have a flight spun off for you on very short notice. Right, that's
Mhm.
one of the perks of, and it's not cheap
Private,
to get into.
private, yeah, chartering private jets and helicopters, basically.
Exactly, exactly. So they implemented a feature to do exactly what you talked about earlier in a different context, which was I need to tell a $10 call from a $10,000 one. And if you're, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Or if they, in their case, they had VIP customers.
Right.
So if you're Michael Jordan and you call in and it either recognize your number or your membership ID, or sometimes it's based on the dialed number, and Michael gets better service than the rest of us. And I mean, that's not something we like to think about, but it's important in that type of industry,
Sure. Of
service-based
course.
industry. That's a really good one. The private, obviously, I like to tell my story because during the pandemic, those guys went almost down to zero. I just want to
Yep.
say, like, they were 300 seats, they went down to like 5, and now they're back up over 200 again. Tell me what other system in the world will allow somebody to do that? You know what I mean?
I
Go from
I
300 to
don't
5.
I
No,
don't know.
it was. They love us, and obviously it's now picking up again, right? Especially private and charters and helicopters. We've kind of gotten over that last catastrophe, but things like auto ship dealers, right? I know you're thinking of the categories, right? You can't just wander in to buy a car anymore. You have to book an appointment. Sometimes they drop the car off at your house for a test drive, right? Or they book the appointment for you to come in. Like, this is a new way of dealing with the public that requires the phone, and it requires a little bit of intelligence on the front end to ensure that the phone can still be the front door. And so a lot of what we're, obviously hammering you guys with today is just how we help you do that. Some use cases, some stories, obviously, but the service-based verticals, I mean, that's the construction company. That's the guy that
Yeah.
repairs your furnace. That's tech support for Bell Canada. That's iPhone support if you need to get your iPhone swapped out. Like, it's a little bit of everything, right?
It's the everything else category, which
Mm,
is huge. It's massive, right?
definitely.
I'm going to skip quick past these next two. I don't think that's just really our over high level view graphic. And Andrew said there's really two main plans. I don't think we want to get deep into those details today. We want to leave out time for questions, and we do have a little bit more on what I promised you earlier, Andrew. Benefits to the agents, to the business that may not be measured in terms of pure cost savings that kind of go above and beyond that. So a few more reasons. That's what we're talking about here.
Good.
73%, yep, of consumers point to their experience as the key factor in a purchasing decision. I'm the
I
same
mean,
way.
I've
Yeah.
have you ever looked on Amazon, saw a terrible review, and then still bought it?
No, even if it was
What?
an amazing price. Actually did that today. I'm like, wow, this is a really nice watch at that price, but why do I see this consistent pattern of people talking about, I think it was fogging up under
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
glass. And I'm like, there's like six
I don't
people
think I want
saying
that.
that.
Yeah,
No.
it's a pretty bad issue. And even if there's a good review and it says I
Right.
was not paid for my endorsement, you know what I mean? Like, we can all read through professional reviews and
Yes.
non-professional reviews, right? We're not, again, there's not a sixth sense that I have. I think we all have that. But to me, and it's a really basic one, but all of that, how difficult it is to buy something from you is all everything, we're always
Right.
being judged constantly, right? And to me, it's higher than 73%. I love that they dumbed this down to 73, but I think it's 100%. Like, your experience is always a factor in a purchasing decision. Whether you ignore it or not is up to you, but it's always a factor. That's the way I
Yeah.
look at it. But anyway,
Yeah. And probably the biggest one.
10-minute warning.
Yeah, I know.
If,
We're going to go.
so
We're going to
as
go.
you go through it, if there's any audience questions, I only see the one, and I will
Mhm.
address it. But post your questions, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll get to them in the last couple of minutes. I'll make sure
Yep.
that we tackle them one at a time.
Yep. Thanks for pointing that out, Andrew. I should have covered that at the start, but appreciate that. I find this one really funny. 89% of customers plan to compete based on experience.
Companies,
80%
yeah.
of owners, they believe they've delivered a
I mean,
superior experience. And less than 10% of customers agree.
do we think we deliver a better experience than Ring Central? You darn tootin'.
Sure.
I don't think we're just blindly saying that. We believe that there's something in the way we deploy our product that's better than the way they do, and that contributes to lower churn, et cetera. I think if you'd be a crazy owner if you didn't believe that you actually deliver it. But it's the bottom one that's really the craziest. Only 8% of customers agree. So
It's a
we all
total
think
disconnect. Yeah.
it is, and the reality is, it's I'll use the telecom example, right? Your AT&T or your geez, I've lost my train. You're Verizon. No, that's not even a good one, right? But you're a challenger, small startup, and you're the big incumbent. Usually, the way you want to distinguish yourself is through customer experience.
Yep.
If I can provide a better service, people will choose me and stay with me instead of going
Yep.
to the name brand. It's not
Might even pay a
always true.
premium. Yeah.
Might even pay a premium, absolutely. And I think that's really what we're talking about here, right? It's not always doable, and certainly a lot of these small business owners don't have access to the right tools and software. That is where we come, right? I mean, what's our seat minimum here? 3 seats? I don't even know if we have a seat minimum, but let's just say it's 3 seats. That means a doctor's office in North Mississippi with 3 nurses and administrators answering calls can have all of these features and functionality, and they don't need to go out and buy a full-fledged Genesis or something like that to actually get it delivered. This is really transformational for that size of business. All right, a little
Certain.
ranty.
No, you're right. It's a democratization of the technology and capabilities, right? Like,
I
we
like
wouldn't
that.
have had. Yeah, I just made it up. We wouldn't have had that
Democratization.
conversation 20 years ago. Right? It just
No,
wouldn't. That would not have even been a thing.
I'm going to
So
say 5 years ago, nobody's been talking to these people. Like, this is really
could be.
bringing this to the masses, right? A callback. I was on a call today. Somebody has a Cisco UCCX. They can't get callback to work. I'm like, are you kidding me? No offense to Cisco, it's probably a human error, but this is something that should exist on every call
Pretty
center as an
foundational.
option.
Yeah, yeah. And if it is there, shouldn't be any questions about the ability to action it, right?
Absolutely.
He-
I'm
Here's
leaving
the
you
one.
alone.
No, no, all good. Here's the one that we were talking about earlier. So now we're just talking about benefits to the team, remote workers. 27% less daily idle time. And that's if you've not worked from home until recently or haven't at all, that might surprise you. You'd think,
Hmm.
well, what do you mean you're at home? Like there must be more idle time. I have found the exact opposite.
Me too.
I'm in here, I'm focused all day. You could say there's distractions around the house. Okay, but how does that compare to, no offense, distractions from coworkers buzzing all
Oh,
around you? Like it's night and day different. You can be far more
everybody
focused.
everybody has a noisy neighbor in a cubicle that we can tell a horror story about, right? That would just
Sure.
never shut up. And we all have those folks. So this is no different than when you're working from home. It's just that your noisy coworkers are now on chat, and you can mute the chat when you're busy and you don't have to listen to them. It's a really amazing thing. But this is real. Like, people start work earlier, they end work later, they take
Yep.
less breaks, they don't even take lunch. As a
And
call
they're
center
doing it
agent,
willingly. They're doing it
willingly,
willingly.
without
That's
even having
crazy.
to ask them. Yeah, it is an amazing thing. And I don't know if it's our psyche, we want to work harder, so we're at home, or it's a little bit of what the heck else am I going to do, right? I'm chained to my desk.
Yeah, could be a bit
It's
of
a
both.
combination of factors, but people work harder when they're at home. It's as simple as that. They're busier longer. Maybe that's it, or have less idle time.
Yeah, and look at the stat here. It's not just day to day.
Nope.
16, they're 13% more likely to stay with the company longer term, which I believe in the study was just defined as 3 to 5 years, which that's significant. Like the average stint these days could be as low as 1 or 2 years. So that's pretty good. And 16 more days per calendar year. That's the one that always blows me away. Obviously, it doesn't mean like you get to December 31st and I'm going to do another 16 days. It means, you know how it is, Inder, a half hour here,
Yeah.
a late call at 6 p.m. over there. And you think nothing of it at the time, but over the year, the cumulative effect, that's amazing over two
So
weeks.
yeah, and I know you're going to the next slide, and this is slightly off topic, but I want to make sure we get to this question that came in, and we
Yeah.
haven't really talked about we kind of skimmed over it a little bit, but the software that we give you guys, either as an end user or as a partner, it's phone agnostic, meaning we can deliver a call to an agent on any device you're using. You want to keep that Avaya or a Cisco or NEC device, or if you want to continue using Teams, our application will lay over the top. But in that functionality, because we're just talking about software, it natively includes web chat, SMS, and
Right.
email interaction. So, and it's a silly little thing. I'll just talk about email for a sec. Like, when somebody fills out a contact us form on the website, that goes to an email somewhere. And usually most call centers are just sharing an inbox. I used to do this myself. Hey, I have a info inbox. I had all my agents going in there, or I would go in there first and email them the emails I wanted them to deal with, and that was it. And I had no oversight. I had no insights into how long an email sat in queue, or how long an agent took to write it, or how many emails even that they answered throughout the day, because I had zero, I just had Outlook. So email queues, as simple as they are, demystify those metrics. And we do it without taking over your email. You're still hosting the same email account and it's still all yours. But we now map those emails into individual queues where there's an agent who's logged in and available. They have the right skill set to answer this email, and the clock is ticking. The email hits their queue. We're now
Right.
tracking queue time. They open up the email. We're tracking in call time or in email
Measure
time,
them. Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And I'm telling you right now, I used to run a small call center, and my best agent, often would come back to me, and I'd be like, "Dude, you took like 9 calls this week. Everybody else took 3,000." "Oh, sorry, boss. I was answering emails this week. I didn't have enough time to take a lot of calls." And I'd be like, "All right, Frank, high five. You're the best." But in reality, I'm like, this is bull, and I need a way to figure out what Frank's spending his time doing. And what I found out is that Frank was actually spending his entire week on emails, but Frank could not type and he could not spell, and he was crazy in the head. So he was re-editing his emails over and over and over
Oh
again, and
no,
his
poor
average
guy.
email handle time was like an hour. So the reason he was taking so long is he just wasn't the right guy. This is nothing against Frank. He spoke 9 languages. English just wasn't the best one
Wow.
written, right? So I would never have known this, honestly, without an email queue to demystify and kind of looking at the data and saying, "Hey, what's up?" So to answer the question, I mean, we're not going to, you guys want to see it live, you should book a demo with myself or someone on the team to show you the email queues and SMS and chat. But to answer that question, or to at least point it out, we support all of those features in our Elite package, or as an add-on in the Pro suite, so that you can add them on individually or kind of buy them all at once. I'm going to
I
delete
appreciate
that.
that. I'm going to skip through these. These are just product views. They are interesting, but look, we're down to a couple minutes here, so um, we'll give
Well, here's
people a couple minutes back, unless we've got. I'll just take a
one
look
other
at
question.
questions here. Okay.
So, and apologies for showing the question. I didn't mean to, Danny. So here we are. So how does your solution integrate with existing on-prem phone systems? It's simple. We route the call to the agent's phone number. So we need a DID. Our preferred method obviously is on net, on Elevate. That's going to be a better experience. But if a customer has an IP enabled PBX, we will set up a SIP trunk for the right use case, for the right size, so that those calls can be delivered over a dedicated trunk. Or our monthly packages actually include PSTN, meaning we can transfer the call just using the plain old switch telephone network and route the call to the agent's DID. So we have some options there, but ultimately the integration piece is to the agent's phone number, and then everything else that the agent would be interacting with is software. Except when it comes time to physically answer that phone, we just route it to whatever device they happen to be using: soft client, physical phone, cell phone,
Doesn't matter.
WebRTC device, you name it. As long as there's a phone number we can reach, we can integrate.
And digits are good.
Digits are 10. Yeah, digits are good. Any other questions? I know Adam and I were slightly verbose, although we managed to finish it on time.
We did.
I can't stress enough those over-the-top features of chat, email, and SMS. And the reason being is that a lot of your customers, and some of you are customers, I get that, you might have a PBX that you don't want to rip and replace. And I don't blame you. You've probably paid good money for it. It's paid for. It works. You pick it up. There's dial tone. So leveraging this software to extend the life of that PBX is a good play, because you only need to buy the agent licenses that you need. Everybody else can kind of stay the same. We can deliver a chat, an email, everything to that same application, and you don't have to go out and buy anything extra. And it just ultimately becomes an easier experience for your agents. And over time, obviously, we want you to rip out that Cisco and swap it out with Elevate phones. But until then, we can work with you over the top. All right.
You bet.
No more questions, Adam.
I think that's it. Well, listen, Andrew, thanks very much for joining us today. Thank all of you for joining. We really appreciate it. We appreciate your time. We're going to give you back. Oh, it just hit 3. I was going to
Look
say
at
give
that.
you back 30 seconds, but I guess we're not. Again, thank you very much for joining, everyone. Again, we will have an ongoing series of these on different topics related to contact centers. So please stay tuned. And in the meantime, we really appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing you again next time. Have a very great rest of the day, and hope it's not too snowy. Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone.
Take care.